Okay, welcome back. So in this video, we will be going over text files, more specifically, how to write to a text file. So we've all seen a text file, or we have an idea of what a .txt file looks like. So let's just do this. Let's go into Notepad, right? So this is what a typical text file looks like. It's a .txt file. If I were to say start writing something like say hello, and then I were to control S save that, what you're going to realize is here in the save as type, it is saved as a .txt file, meaning that it is a text file. So let's just cancel that and let's just get out of that. No, don't save. So those are what text files are in practicality, right? They are just your normal Notepad applications or Notepad page that you can use to then append information to. A text file in and out of itself, or a blank text file, is useless, but a text file that has information appended to it has some form of value, because the end user can then start reading those values, you can start manipulating those values, you can do something with the data that is stored within a text file. So these are just a few key things that we need to keep in mind when we are dealing with text files. Is we have the OF stream. The OF stream, you can think of it as the output file stream, right? This stream class, essentially just writes on files. That's its job. It is to write to a file. The input file stream, it essentially just reads from a file. So we have the output file stream, which writes to a file, and then we have the input file stream, which reads from a file. And then we have the F stream. The F stream, it's a stream class that can both read and write from or to files. So there is an fstream class. So this fstream class is our header file. So it's a header file that we have to include before we start actually working with text files. So let's just start off by writing to a text file. So the first thing that we need to do if we are writing to a text file is we need to ask ourselves the question, does the file that we are writing to exist? Are we trying to create a new file, or are we trying to append information into an already existing file? So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself. That's the first thing you need to do when you're starting to program and you're starting to work with text files is, does the file that I'm going to be working with already exist, or do I need to create the file and then append those information into the file? So the way that you would go about doing that is you would say OF stream file, right? So let's just look at this line. So you can think of this OF stream as maybe a variable, right? A data type, not a variable, but a data type. So for example, we would have std string name, right? You can think of this OF stream as this string, and you can think of this file as the variable file. So since we are using std, we would not need to include this std part. We would just remove that and only be left with the string name. So the OF stream tells the computer that we are working with files, more specifically text files. So this is the data type. We are working with an output file stream. So in an output file stream, it only allows you to write to a file. You cannot read anything from that file. You can only write to that particular file. So that's what you can think of this whole line. If you're trying to make sense of this line, that's what you can just sort of think of it as, or generalize it in your own way. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're then going to have to say file dot open, right? What are we opening? So I said to you before that when you are working with text files, you need to ask yourself the question of whether or not the file exists or you need to create it. So the computer is going to do that questioning for you. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that is, let's just create a new file. Let's just call it our file.txt, right? We've just called it our file.txt. So what happens is the computer is going to run through this line. It's going to then see this dot open, but what is it opening? It's opening a our file.txt. So then it's going to ask itself, or it's going to look through your files to see if a our file.txt even exists. If the our file.txt doesn't exist, it is then going to create a our file.txt. So that is the power of having to use this open statement, but also having to have the data type OF stream and not the input file stream. Having the output file stream lets the computer know that our intended purpose is to write to a file. So if you come down here and you see this open, even if the file does not exist, I want you to create a file. So that's what the computer is going to do in our case. It's going to create the file, right? So it has created a file, but now the thing is, we need to have some form of validation. We need to know if the file has been opened, right? Because you don't want to start programming some stuff only to realize that the file itself has not even been opened. So the way that we can do that is we can create an if statement and say if file dot is open. If that is true, so the is file dot is open. It's a built-in function in C++ for text files. So what that essentially does is that it checks if the file is open. If the file is open, then it will return a true. If the file is not open, it will then return a false. So this function just returns a Boolean data type, either true or false. So what we're saying by this line is, if the file dot is open, if file, which is our file.txt, if that our file.txt is open, meaning that this line would have to be true. If this line is true, then I want you to then do the following. So the first thing that I need you to do, right? You don't have to do this, but I know that if you don't do this within this if statement, you are going to forget to do this, right? And you're going to lose marks if you are going to be writing an examination, or you're going to find that your program is going to crash, or your program is going to have some logical errors that you don't know how to fix. Do this. Say file dot close. That's it. After you've written this if statement, I want you to then write file.close, because we need to close the file, right? If you open the file and then say you start appending stuff into the file, after the program has finished compiling, you want the file to close. You don't want the file to still be open. Why should the file still be open if you've already done compiling, if you've already done putting things into the file, or doing some some functions or some procedure or whatever it is that you want it to do? Why should the file still be open? So you need to then close the file. So once the program has finished compiling, the file is then going to be closed. So please, just after you've written the if statement, just write this line, and then we go down here and then we start to say file hello world. Right, file hello world, right? Let's just go again and say file hello world again, right? Let's just say file hello world again. Sorry, hello world again. Let's try to run. Oh, sorry. Let's try to run that. Right? So nothing is going to appear here because we have not outputted anything into the console, right? We have not outputted anything into the console application. The only thing that we have done is we've just used C++'s compiler to open a file and to also input some text into the file. So nothing is going to appear here. We're just going to get something that's blank for now, right? But if we go on to our file explorer and then we go down into our file explorer, and so we go into right here. So this is where I saved the majority of my files. So for you, you might have a different file path, but for me, this is where I saved it, right? And then you say our files. So as you can see, we have hello world, right? Hello world. That's what we have in our file, right? And so we have basically we've opened a file, we've created a new file, and then we've appended information or elements into the file. We've appended stuff into the file, and then we've closed the file. So if you are in a situation where you are required to write stuff into a file or to write something to a file, and the file is not given, meaning that the file does not exist, you need to do 3 steps, right? 1, you need to declare your file name. Number 2, you need to create a file. Number 3, this is optional, but it is, something that can help you, right? When we are looking at how to read from a file, you are going to see the importance of having this if statement, right? But you are going to basically check if the file has been opened, right? So we're checking if the file has been opened, and then you append information into the text file, and then after that we then close the text file, right? So those are your steps. You need to declare your file name, you need to create a file, you need to check if the file has been opened, you need to append the information into the file, and then you need to close the file. So that's it. That's the introductory video to text files. That's how you write elements into a text file.